to Cody Talks NFL, presented by Blitzalytics.com. And here's your host, Cody Manning.
And welcome into the Friday edition of Cody Talks NFL. Hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving, enjoyed all the food, enjoyed all the football we had yesterday. I know I did. I'm still trying to come out of this food coma I put myself in last night. That's why you're probably getting this episode a little later than normal today. But I'm going to go ahead and get right into this. I'm probably going to make this a quick episode for everybody. I know it's Thanksgiving weekend. Everybody's probably going to be busy, either traveling back home or just doing some shopping or whatever. So I'm going to try to get into my previews and get out for you guys today. A couple news, though, notes heading into the weekend with the quarterback positions on a couple AFC North teams. Bengals have benched Ryan Finley, and they're going back to Andy Dalton as a starter. I don't understand this whatsoever. I guess the case is they're going back to Dalton to give themselves the best chance to at least get one win this season. But if that's the case, why didn't they just stick with Andy Dalton until they got a couple wins, and then they could have saw what they had in Ryan Finley? Obviously, Ryan Finley is not the answer, but again, I'm not sure what's going on with the Bengals. It makes no sense for you to bench Dalton just to go back to him later in the season. Maybe they're just trying to repair that relationship in case they want to try to use him as a bridge quarterback instead of trading him this offseason, since he has 1-year deal left on his contract. Another team, we saw it last week during the game. The Steelers did bench Mason Rudolph, or I call it better known as Duck Hodges. Technically, it's Devlin Hodges, but his nickname is Duck. Now he has been officially named a starter this week for their matchup against the Browns. He provides a little bit more moxie, a little bit more comfortable. Seems a little bit more comfortable in the pocket. I don't expect much change in the offense. He still does struggle in certain areas of his game, but maybe he can provide that boost, which can help the Steelers pile up some wins and secure that last spot in the wild card position. Other than that, as far as those Thursday games, I'm sure most of you guys had a chance to sit down and check them out. Maybe you fell into a food coma during a couple of them, missed some action. But the first game, Bears, actually was a lot closer than I expected. David Blau played pretty good for the Lions, but the Bears did win 24-20. Bears are sitting at a 6-6 record. They still got a chance at the wild card positioning, but they're going to have to start stacking up wins. Their last 4 games of their schedule is really tough. I still don't have high expectations for the Bears. They barely squeezed out a win against a injury-riddled Lions team that was down to their third-string quarterback. So I don't really expect them to have a strong finish and get into the playoffs somehow. They'll probably maybe finish 8-8. I still think they could finish about a 7-9. They could even lose out and go 6-10. I could see that happening too. So my expectations for the Bears aren't there. They're just going to have to see what they got in this team over these last 4 games and reevaluate which areas they want to address for the next season. As far as the Lions, 3-8-1, they are still yet a team that, even with all the injuries, they're still competitive. So you at least got to like to see that out of the team. Again, I think they're probably going to – it makes no sense for them to rush back Stafford. They should just go ahead and shut him down for the season. Honestly, they may even stick with this David Blau kid. He kind of looks a little bit more better, in my opinion, than Jeff Driscoll. So it'll be interesting to see who they ride out with the quarterback position. But, again, they're pretty much out of the playoff picture. It's basically evaluation time for the Lions to see who they want to bring back in the 2020 season. Now, the bigger surprise of the day, it's not a big surprise because they won, and more of a big surprise because of how much the Cowboys kind of laid an egg. I thought this game would be a lot closer than what it was, but the Bills basically manhandled the Cowboys. They won 26-15. Bills are sitting now at a 9-3 record. They got the 5th seed in the wild card, pretty much locked up at this point, barring them dropping a few games. The Cowboys now are sitting at a 6-6 record. They're leaving the door open for Philadelphia to stay within. They could actually tie it up, but Cowboys would have the advantage over them as far as the tie advantage for right now. But they're leaving the door open for the Eagles to be within range to win the NFC East. Starting with the Bills, I like what I saw yesterday. They came to play. They didn't back down from the moment. Josh Allen looked good. I liked how they were able to move the ball down the field. They weren't afraid to go to little trick plays like that little reverse pass from Brown to Singletary. Love that because I had both those guys on one of my fantasy teams. But yeah, Bills are sitting at a 9-3 record, and they, like I kind of mentioned at my Monday episode, the Bills to me are a team that has what it takes to get to at least to the AFC Championship game and make some noise within the AFC side of the playoff picture. Can they make the Super Bowl? Maybe. But they definitely got what it takes. They got the offense starting to come along. They're starting to gel, and that defense has been good this whole season. And they showed out against that Cowboys team. Now, speaking of the Cowboys, they're sitting there at a 6-6 record. I know Jerry Jones came out and said basically he's not going to fire Garrett or any of the coaches, which makes sense. I mean, they still have a chance at the playoffs. They're going to ride it out with them and see what happens. But you be careful what you wish for. You may ride it out, and they may go on a run in the playoffs to like the NFC Championship game, and then he gets suckered into one more year or 2 more years with Garrett. Not sure how that extension would work out if that happens. But yeah, Cowboys are sitting at a 6-6 record. It's going to be interesting to see how they control the outcome of the rest of their season. Apparently, the Cowboys in the locker room, it started with Michael Bennett angrily yelling at everybody, trying to make sure everybody's holding more accountable. But, I mean, if Jerry Jones is, yelling about the team in the media, I don't know if Michael Bennett in the locker room is going to do much for them. So, I don't know. Cowboys still could easily squeeze in the playoffs as the quote-unquote winner of the NFC East, but I have no expectations, even if they get in the playoffs, that they'll do much because they completely fell on their place based on basically the primetime matchup of Thanksgiving. Everybody watches that afternoon game, and they did not show up, and the Bills did, so kudos to Buffalo. And then last night's game, the Saints, it was a little bit closer than I thought. I thought the Saints would beat up on them. The Saints won 26-18, but it is a divisional matchup, and with that win, the Saints have won the NFC South. They're officially in the NFL playoffs. So now they basically will be focusing on winning as many games as they can to try to secure a first-round bye, and then hopefully things fall their way where they can get the first seed and get home field advantage throughout the playoffs. They're sitting at a 10-2 record. They're definitely still a beatable team. But they're going to be a threat with, Drew Brees and Sean Payton as their coach. Their defense is playing good. They just need to get a little bit more healthy on the offensive line before the playoff run. But at least they know right now they're at least in the playoffs, and they can control the outcome as far as getting that first round bye. And like I mentioned, potentially putting themselves in a position to get a first seed, especially with their matchup against the Niners coming up. And then the Falcons 3-9. They're just going back to what we thought they were. There's they could be competitive because they got talent, but there's I don't know. I guess undercoached team would be the right word, and I just have no expectations for them to even finish a strong push, and it'll probably be at the end of the season. We'll see them move on from the Dan Quinn era, and we'll see who's the head coach of this team and how they try to make up that roster heading into the 2020 season. So I just expect players to try to earn their spot on that team. Not much to watch for out of Atlanta. And then I'm going to go ahead and get into the first set of the Sunday games for this Week 13. The Titans are traveling out to Indianapolis to face the Colts. As far as injuries heading into the matchup, starting on the Titans side, they actually went ahead and placed Cameron Wake and Delaney Walker in IR this week, so they're losing a veteran presence on both sides of the ball to finish their season. And then Reggie Gilbert has not practiced this week for the Titans with a knee injury, as well as LaShawn Sims with an ankle injury. And then Derrick Henry has been limited with a hamstring injury. And the hits just keep on coming on for the Colts offensive skill players. T.Y. Hilton re-aggravated his calf injury this week during practice, so he's actually been ruled out already against the Titans. And then Marlon Mack still has yet to return to practice. Mo Alley Cox has not practiced this week. Now, Quentin Nelson was a DNP yesterday, but he's kind of been doing this like the last few weeks where he's been limited Wednesday, DNP on Thursday, and then usually practices on Friday. But that's something to monitor. If he doesn't practice and all of a sudden he's ruled out, that's going to have a significant impact on the outcome of this game. So do watch that injury report when it comes out this afternoon. And then Paris Campbell is limited with his hand injury. He does have a chance to return this week. And then Rock Ya-Sin has been limited with an ankle injury. As far as how I think this game's going to go, I mean, there's a lot on the line. Both teams are 6-5. Basically, you could argue. I mean, I know the loser would go to 6-6, but it seems like if you lose this game, you're pretty much putting yourself out of the playoff picture, if that makes sense. I know either team would go on a 4-0 run in December, or to finish the season and get into the playoffs. But it seems like this is a must-win type of game. Colts won the game in Tennessee earlier this season. Obviously, a lot has changed since then. Ryan Tannehill is the quarterback. That Titans offense is looking good. But I still have that feeling with the Titans. And this is not even me being Colts bias, just I'm being Titans bias just based on what they've been the last 3 years. How many times have we been here before? We're around November time of the year. They get on a little hot streak, and then everybody's like, oh, the Titans, watch out for them, watch out for them. And then they head into like a big-time matchup like this, and they just fall flat on their faces, and the other team wins, and then the Titans are back to being a 8-8, 9-7 right out of the playoffs, or maybe sneaking into the playoff type of team and then losing first round. So because the Colts are at home, I'm going to lean towards the Colts, but I'm going to say this. It's going to come down to a field goal. It's going to come down to who has the ball last, I think. I could definitely see that happening. I could definitely see the Titans hitting the field goal at the end of the game to upset well, not necessarily upset the Colts, but to leave the Indianapolis with a victory. So I can see it going either way. I honestly can. I think the Titans are playing really great, but I lean towards the Colts just because they are at home. And if you look at the past history of the Colts and the Titans series over like the last 10 years, Colts have completely dominated. So I'm going to go with history. I'm going to go with the home team and say the Colts barely win a 24-21 type win. But like I said, I can see the Titans winning by a field goal as well. Going into the next matchup, the Jets are traveling to Cincinnati to face the Bengals. No news on either team, but as far as injuries on the Jets front, Chuma Edoga has not practiced this week with a knee injury. CJ Mosley has yet to return to practice with a groin injury. Following players have been limited for New York: Henry Anderson with a shoulder, Kelvin Beachum with his ankles, Alex Lewis with an elbow, Steve McClendon with a neck injury, Darryl Roberts with a calf injury, and Demaryius Thomas with a hamstring injury. And then on the Bengals front, A.J. Green has yet to return to practice. I'm not sure why they have yet to shut him down for the season, but they keep on listening him on the injury report. Alex Redmond has not practiced with an elbow, and then Nick Vigil has not practiced with an ankle injury. As far as how this game is going to go, I guess this could be what somebody could call a trap game for the Jets, if you want to call it that. I could definitely see them laying an egg. And somehow maybe the Bengals sneaking out with a win, but I just simply cannot trust the Bengals right now. They have not won a game. And also, to be fair and to give credit to the Jets, they are coming along on the defensive side of the ball, and they're coming along on the offensive side of the ball. So I do like the Jets in this game. I'll have them. I think they can win by like a touchdown. It should be like maybe like see it being like a 24-17 type win for the Jets. I can definitely see them. They should definitely handle business, and if they drop the game, it's going to have all those doubts that people had about Adam Gase and the Jets come back if they lose this game. So I expect the Jets to win this, though. They should win by a touchdown. And then going into the next game, Washington is traveling to Carolina to face the Panthers. As far as injuries heading into the matchup with the Redskins, Ryan Kerrigan has not practiced with a concussion. Paul Richardson has not practiced with a hamstring injury. Adrian Peterson has not practiced with a toe injury. And then Daron Payne has been limited with an ankle injury. Brandon Scherf has been limited with a shoulder injury. And Chris Thompson has been limited with his toe injury. On the Panthers front, Greg Little has not practiced with his ankle injury. And then Shaq Thompson has been limited with his ankle injury. Eric Reed has been limited with an ankle injury. And then Taylor Mawton has been limited with a knee injury. As far as how I think this game's going to go, Panthers have a lot more to play for than the Redskins. Redskins are already a bad team. Panthers got to keep on winning games and give themselves maybe some hope to sneak in as a wild card, because like I mentioned earlier, the Saints have won the NFC South. So the only way the Panthers can get in is basically winning out the rest of their games, and hopefully either those teams in the wild card right now drop a lot of games and they can sneak in as a wild card. So I assume they're going to want to go about give their best chance for that. I think they can get after Haskins, force him into sacks, force him into turnovers. I'm sure Christian McCaffrey is going to have a heyday against this Redskins defense. I think the Panthers should handle business. They should win by 7 to 10 points. I could see them winning like a 28 to 14, 28 to 17 type of win for the Panthers. Going on to the best matchup of the weekend. And not only this is the best matchup of the weekend, you're talking about this is a potential Super Bowl preview. And I kind of wish they would have flexed this game, not necessarily to the Sunday night game, because the Sunday night game does make sense why that stayed that way it is. But I'm not sure why they didn't try to flex this to the afternoon game, give more of a balance to the noon and the afternoon games. And also, too, just because I think this might have a impact on the game. If anybody's been a long-time listener, I always bring this up, but you're talking about a West Coast team from San Francisco traveling to Baltimore, and usually those West Coast teams do struggle with that 1 p.m. Eastern time start time. So it'll be interesting to see how San Francisco comes out and plays this game. But really quick, as far as injuries heading into this matchup, let's see here. D Ford has not practiced with his hamstring and quadricep injury. Dante Pettis has not practiced with a knee injury. Matt Breida has been limited with an ankle injury. George Kittle has been limited with a knee and ankle injury. Deebo Samuel has been limited with a shoulder injury. Emmanuel Sanders has been limited with his ribs. And then Joe Staley has been limited with a finger injury. And then this one's can be notable. I actually did not even realize this because just with it being Thanksgiving week, I haven't really stayed on top of every team until I did all my research this morning for the show. But Mark Ingram, he has not practiced this week with an ankle injury, so that's something to monitor. If he is not able to go against the Niners, that will significantly impact their chances because they also lost their center, Matt Skura. They put him on IR earlier this week, so a couple blows to the offense right now. And then Matthew Judon hasn't practiced with an ankle injury, or Orlando Brown has not practiced with an illness, and then Bradley Bozeman, who's going to help replace Skura, he's been limited with an ankle injury. Then Nick Boyle has been limited with an ankle injury, and Michael Pierce has been limited with an ankle injury. As far as how this game's going to go, it's really honestly hard for me to predict. Like I said, usually the West Coast teams do struggle coming out to the East Coast with that time. Now, Mark Ingram's out, and then they're already missing their center. I mean, that defensive front's probably going to look to exploit the interior of the Ravens offense and try to get after Lamar. It's not necessarily a good thing to fluster him out of the pocket, but maybe they can get him off schedule with his throws. Because surprisingly, he does have the most passing touchdowns from the pocket in the NFL out of all quarterbacks. So he does get comfortable there to toss to his tight ends. 49ers are really good against the tight ends. It seems like this is a strength on strength type of matchup. I don't know. It's really hard for me to pick, but I think it's going to be like a close game, right? Like whoever wins this could win anywhere, I think, between 1 to 4 points. Like I don't know, like I can see like a 28-27 type win, a 28-24 type of win. I'm going to say the Ravens, though, because they're at home and it's that 1 p.m. start time. I'm going to go with the percentage on who wins those games. But I can definitely see the 49ers winning this too. But I am going to stick with the Ravens on this one just because they are the home team. It's a West Coast team traveling out there. But I'll say this, though. If Mark Ingram doesn't play, if he ends up getting ruled out or at any point, I do lean back towards the Niners squeezing out the win. It's going to go either way. I can't wait to watch this on Sunday and see who wins this game. It's like I said, I wish this had more of a primetime matchup feel to it, not just stuck in with all the 1 p.m. games that are going to be going on Sunday. I wish there could be more of an audience watching this. So yeah, if your team ends up getting blown out or your team blows out another team, I would switch to this game if it's still close, which I imagine it would be. But then again, keep in mind, what was it? The Texans-Ravens game a couple weeks ago I had the same feeling about, and then the Ravens blew them out. Now, if the Ravens blow out the 49ers, man, that pretty much wraps up the MVP for Lamar. And then I'm going to go ahead and get to the next game. Tampa Bay is traveling out to Jacksonville to face the Jaguars. As far as injuries, Scotty Miller has not practiced for the Bucs with a hamstring injury. Jason Pierre-Paul has not practiced with a knee injury. MJ Stewart has not practiced with a knee injury. Bo Allen has been limited with a neck injury. On the Jaguars front, Ronnie Harrison has not practiced with a concussion. Miles Jack has not practiced with a knee injury. Brandon Linder has not practiced with a shoulder injury. Self DeValve has not practiced with a oblique injury. And then Josh Allen has been limited with a knee injury. And then Calais Campbell has been limited with a back injury. As far as how I think this game's going to go, feels like it's kind of like a toss-up. But I do see these injuries on the Jaguars front will have, I think, have more of an impact compared to the Bucs. Bucs, they're a team that, like I said, they should be able to handle these mediocre type of teams like the Jaguars. I think they have more going for them as far as momentum. Like the Jaguars have been blown out over the last 2 weeks. There's nothing that says I should believe in the Jaguars to pull this off. So I am going to go with the Bucs. I think they find a way to win. I could see it being like a 20. This might be a weird score, but I can see it being like a 27-21 type win, just because Matt Gay has struggled hitting extra points here and there throughout the season. So I think the Bucs win. Like I said, like a 27-21, maybe like a 28-24 type win. It might be closer than. It might be a really close game, but I don't know. I just think the Bucs have more. As much as their season is basically over, they have more going for them, I think, than the Jaguars do right now. Especially the fact that they came off the win against the Falcons, and like I said, the Jaguars has dropped 2 games in a row where they're gotten blown out. Next game, we'll see what happens in this. If there's any emotional water still trending from the couple weeks ago from the brawl, but Cleveland is traveling to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers. As far as injuries on both teams, on the Browns front, Greg Robinson has not practiced with a concussion injury. Odell Beckham has been limited with a groin injury. Joe Schobert has been limited with a groin injury. Olivier Vernon has been limited with a knee injury. And then on the Steelers front, Juju Smith-Schuster has not practiced this week with his knee concussion. Looks like he'll probably be out. And then James Conner has been limited with a shoulder injury. So it'll be interesting to see if Conner is able to make his return this week. As far as how I think this game's going to go, I mean, it's a divisional matchup. I mean, I think the Steelers do want to come to play. I think, obviously, they don't want to be swept by the Browns this season. I'm not sure, like I said, if the emotions will carry over from that previous matchup, especially considering Garrett is out of the matchup, and so is Pouncey. But I'm going to lean towards the Browns just because they're playing good football right now. I just still, even with the change to Duck Hodges, I still don't trust that Steelers offense. Maybe they can move the ball and stay on the field more often. But I'm going to lean towards the Browns and their playmakers. I think they find a way to get it done. I think it will be a close game. It will be a divisional type of matchup where it comes down to the wire. I know the Browns basically handled their business the last time they played, but I think, especially with the Steelers right now on top of the wild card position, of course, if the Steelers lose this, the Browns will have a same record as the Steelers and the tiebreaker over them. So that's something that the Browns are going to be playing for. But I think the Browns just squeeze out a win. It'll be like a 21-17 type win for the Browns. I feel like maybe like a 21-18. It'll be like a 3-4 score game. I got the Browns winning this one just because I just simply still don't trust the Steelers offense. And then heading into the next matchup, the Packers are traveling out to New York to face the Giants. As far as injuries heading into the matchup, Devontae Adams is limited with a toe injury. Brian Bulaga has been limited with a knee injury. And then Jimmy Graham has been limited with a calf injury. On the Giants front, Rhett Ellison has not practiced with a concussion. Evan Ingram has not practiced with a foot injury. Jabril Peppers has not practiced with a back injury. Golden Tate hasn't practiced with a concussion. And then their long snapper, Zach Diosi, I think that's how you say it, right? He has not practiced with a knee and wrist injury. So some pretty significant injuries on the Giants front. Honestly, I think the Packers walk away with this. This seems like a get-right type of game for them, coming off that brutal loss to the 49ers last week. This is such a team that you can go and get all the kinks worked out on your offense. This is a team that maybe your defense can kind of gain more confidence and try to get back to how they were playing back in September. I totally expect them to blow the Giants out. Like, if this is a game that's going to be more telling about the Packers than the Giants, to be honest, as much as it would look good for the Giants to make this close and maybe squeeze out a victory, if that happens, I think that's more telling of who the Packers are, to be honest. The Packers should win this game by 10-plus points. It should be like a 31-21 type win. for the Packers. So I'm going to go ahead and get into the next game. Philadelphia is traveling down to Miami to face the Dolphins. As far as injuries, Zach Ertz has not practiced this week with a hamstring injury, so it'll be interesting to see if he gets any reps in today at all. Nelson Aguilar has been limited with a knee injury. Jordan Howard has been limited with a shoulder injury. Alshon Jeffrey has been limited with the ankle injury. And then Jason Peters has been limited with his knee injury. On the Dolphins front, Ken Crawley has been limited with a shoulder injury. Alan Hearns with an ankle injury. Ryan Lewis has been limited with a chest injury. And then also Albert Wilson with his hip and chest injury. As far as how I think this game's going to go, Dolphins they're kind of going back to what they were at the beginning of the season. It's just that they've had too many injuries, and it's just not that much talent to deal with that many injuries to your team. And then now with the Cowboys dropping that game yesterday, obviously the Eagles are looking at that like as a great opportunity to get the tie right now with the Cowboys and put themselves in position to possibly win the NFC East and sneak into the playoff picture. So yeah, I think with the Eagles having so much to play for, again, kind of like the Packers, it seems like it's a get right type of game, get back on track, let's finish the season strong type of game. So I expect them to dominate the Dolphins. They should also win by 10 plus points. I don't expect this to be close at all. I expect them to handle their business and try to put themselves in position to try to go on a run to get into the playoffs. So they should win like a 28-17 type win for the Eagles. And then I'm going to go ahead and get into this next matchup. Now I'm going into the 3 afternoon games. The first game I'm going to get into is the Rams are traveling out to Arizona to face the Cardinals. As far as injuries on the matchup, Rams, Gerald Everett has not practiced with a knee injury. Darius Williams has not practiced with an ankle injury. And then Rob Havenstein has been limited with his knee injury. On the Cardinals front, they're relatively healthy. Jonathan Bullard has been limited with a foot injury. As far as how this game goes, honestly, I don't know how to feel about this game because it's a divisional matchup. Those are obviously always hard to predict, as I always say. And it seems like both teams, even though the Cardinals' record is not that great, they've been very competitive. So that's why I'm saying this. It seems like both teams are kind of going in opposite directions. It feels like the Rams are trending down. It seems like they're regressing while the Cardinals are trending up, and they've been progressing as a team. I don't know. My producer of the show, Rob, might be mad if I picked the Cardinals, but he typed in some swear words in there on the script on me. But, I still think the Rams have the most talent. I really do. The Cardinals' offensive line is still pretty bad. So I imagine Aaron Donald would get after him. And they do have more to play for the Cardinals than the Cardinals. Technically, they can still get into the playoffs as a wild card. I guess technically they would win the West. They would have to win out, maybe have things drop their way. I don't see that happening. I think maybe the focus should be on the wild card positioning. Now, because the Rams do have more to play for than the Cardinals, I am going to take the Rams in this one. But like I said, I think the Cardinals are going to make it close. They're a competitive team right now. But I think the Rams squeeze it out. It'll be like a 27-24, like by a field goal type win. Greg the Leg seals the deal for your Rams. I just had to see if it tease Rob with that loss right there. Potential loss right there. We'll see what happens on Sunday. And then the next game, Chargers are traveling out to Denver. A little news note on the Broncos that came out that all signs point to Drew Lock will be the starter for Denver. So the rookie quarterback will have his chance to finish these last 5 games for the Broncos and try to make a case to enter next season as their starting quarterback. As far as injuries, for the Chargers, Russell Kuhn's been limited with a groin injury, and then Sam Tebby has been limited with a knee injury. And then on the Broncos front, Alexander Johnson has not practiced with a knee injury. Von Miller has not practiced with a knee injury. Shelby Harris has been limited with an ankle injury. Josie Jewell has been limited with an ankle injury. Ron Leary has been limited with a shoulder and neck injury. Connor McGovern has been limited with a back injury. As far as how I think this game's going to go, I mean, you're talking about a rookie quarterback against the Chargers defense. Chargers actually look relatively healthy for the first time all season. It just might be too late. It's not official because he hasn't been activated, but I believe Derwin James does have a chance to come back against this game. It's just not official yet. If he does, I'd definitely take the Chargers heavy on the Chargers on this one. Even without Derwin James, I think they should be able to handle the business against the Broncos. They don't really have a great offensive line. They're going to have a rookie quarterback, and then you're looking at the injury report. There you got all types of injuries, and the most significant one is Von Miller has not practiced this week. So if he doesn't practice today and they rule him out, who do they have really left to get after the quarterback at that point? So I'm going to take the Chargers in this one just because I'm going to go with the veteran quarterback, even though he hasn't played that great this season. And then their defense should be able to get after Locke and force him into rookie mistakes. So I got the Chargers, and with it being a rookie quarterback, even if it was Brandon Allen, I think the Chargers should be able to win by 7 points in this matchup. I could see them winning like a 21-14. It might be a low-scoring game just because that's how the AFC West sometimes plays when it's outside the Chiefs, right? A low-scoring affair that usually finishes in the 20s. And I think they should be able to win by a touchdown. And then heading into the next matchup, Raiders are traveling out to KC to face the Chiefs. As far as injuries, Hunter Renfrow has not practiced this week with his ribs injury. Rodney Hudson has been limited for the Raiders with an ankle injury. Josh Jacobs has been limited with a shoulder injury. And then Lamarcus Joyner has been limited with a hamstring injury. And the Chiefs are relatively healthy. Damian Williams has not practiced this week with a rib injury. And then Sammy Watkins has not practiced with an illness. As far as how I think, as far as how I think this game's going to go, I mean, the Chiefs, they understand the Raiders are basically the only threat to them to potentially steal the AFC West from them. And they basically got a chance to not only put the nail in that coffin, but make more separation. And then they can turn focus on trying to see if the other teams in the AFC can start dropping games and maybe they can get a first round bye. Chiefs are at home. The Raiders are just at this point, as fun as they've been, they just keep on getting injuries piling up on them. So, honestly, I think the Chiefs handle their business. I really don't think it's going to be a close game. The best bet for the Raiders is they lean on Jacobs and they try to go ground heavy at the beginning of the game and keep the KC offense off the field and just try to control the clock. And while they're controlling the clock, they have to also make sure they're getting touchdowns at the same time. That's basically the only way I can see them winning the game. Also, with obviously Mahomes having a maybe subpar type of game too would help that out. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think KC walks all over them. I think they end up winning by like 7 points. I could see this being like a 31-24 type win for the Chiefs. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get into the Sunday night matchup. The Patriots are traveling out to the Texans to face out to Houston to face the Texans. As far as the news that came out over the last 24 hours for the Patriots, their kicker they've had over the last few weeks, Nick Folk, he had an appendectomy on Thursday. Now they have released him because of that, but the report says he could return when he's healthy, but that might be dependent on how his replacement's playing as well. They signed Kai Forbath, who's kicked around the NFL before in the past, so we'll see if they can maybe finally fix their kicking issues they've been dealing with this season. As far as injuries, now the Patriots injury report is actually very long. Apparently there's a flu or something going on in the locker room because a lot of guys are dealing with an illness. Dante Hightower has not practiced with an illness. Ryan Izzo has not practiced with an illness. Isaiah Wynn has not practiced with an illness. The following players have been limited. Tom Brady has been limited with an elbow injury. Patrick Chung with an illness, heel and chest injury. Jamie Collins with an illness. Stephon Gilmore with an illness. Marcus Cannon with an illness. Philip Dorsett with a concussion. Julian Edelman with a shoulder. Jason McCourty with a groin. Mohamed Sanu with an ankle. And the Matthew Slater, their special team star, has been limited with a hamstring injury. On the Texans front, all these guys have been limited this week. Angelo Blackson with a shoulder. Garyon Conley with a hip. Will Fuller with a hamstring injury, Titus Howard with a knee injury, Lonnie Johnson with an ankle injury, Bradley Roby with a hamstring injury, and then Brennan Scarlett with a shoulder injury. As far as how this game's going to go, I mean, I expect it's going to be a good game. Now, this whole illness is for the Patriots in that long injury report makes me think that Texans definitely should have a shot to win this. But I'm going with the Patriots just because Bill Belichick, first of all, and not only Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick kind of owns Bill O'Brien in the sense, and pretty much owns any of his former assistants. He kind of knows how, I guess he knows his former assistants very well and how to exploit their strengths and weaknesses. So even with all those, everybody being sick, now it will be interesting, man. If this sickness that the Patriots are dealing with does linger into Sunday and affects their play, that definitely gives Houston a slight advantage on this. I think because of that, it will be a pretty close game. I mean, obviously, Houston has a lot to fight for. Obviously, a win over the Patriots is huge and maybe could give them an advantage to potentially sneak in as a first-round bye over the Patriots if they continue to win out and the Patriots start to drop some games. So that they do have a lot to play for. Obviously, they want to keep their one-game lead on the AFC South over the Colts and Titans, depending on who wins that game, too, for the AFC South standings. And then also, too, I mean, the Patriots got to keep on winning, too, because, I mean, they're only down. It's a 2-game lead, but the Bills now are sitting at a 9-3 game, 9-3 record. Patriots dropped this game. It's down to 1 game, and they face off each other here in a few weeks. So I think both teams got a lot to play for, but because it's Bill Belichick and because it's the Patriots on Sunday Night Football, I'm leaning towards the Patriots on this one. It'll be a close one. I say the Patriots find a way to win at the end of the game. They win like a 28-24 type of win. And then the Monday night game is the Vikings and Seahawks. I cannot wait for that game. No news came out for either team, so I don't have nothing to talk about. Of course, on my Monday episode of Cody Talks NFL, I will give you guys the injury report, any news updates if that comes out at all over the weekend, and then give you my preview for that matchup. I'm going to go ahead and get into Rob's question. Rob's question of the day is, if you could be a GM of any team not currently slated to make the playoffs, put fandom aside, which team would you rather have control of, and why, and what are the first couple moves I'd make? Brightest future of non-playoff teams. Man, trying to think. Who would I rather have that's not in the playoffs? Whew. This is tough, Rob. You really put me on the spot. You know what? Like, I kind of think about the Cardinals, right? Because Kyler Murray is really fun to watch. Cliff Kingsbury's kind of coming along. And it feels like they could be a better team if Steve Keim wasn't a terrible GM. He kind of makes some questionable decisions. So I wouldn't mind being with the Cardinals. That's one team that comes to my mind because you got the quarterback right now. You got some offensive pieces. All I would need to address is the offensive line, and then I would want to get more of a veteran presence on the defensive side of the ball. Specifically, I know they got Patrick Peterson, but he's kind of fell off a little bit. But maybe more of a veteran safety that could help them out. Maybe some address the linebacker position, the interior of the defensive line. I would mainly focus on the defensive side of the ball for the Cardinals while putting heavy investments into the offensive line, if not a multiple draft picks and signings into the offensive line, so I can protect the quarterback and give him a chance to throw the ball more often without scrambling. So I think the Cardinals would be a fun team. I'm going to try to think of an AFC team maybe. And I'm going to try to think of teams that are not even in the playoff positioning. Just off the top of my head, AFC East, AFC West, no, North. No. I don't know why, but I think the Dolphins would just be fun just because you would have all that draft capital and all the money to spend too. I don't think they necessarily have a for sure bright future, but just the opportunity to control that future. Because when you have that much draft capital and that much cap space and that much leeway with the owner that understands you're in a complete rebuilding phase that's going to take 2 to 3 years, I mean, that's kind of a cool thing to do where you could basically shape that whole roster into your vision. As far as what I would do with that team just needs to be fixed across the board. I'll laugh because I'm like, I'll give Rosen one more shot next year and then try to draft Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields in the draft. I would honestly hope like Chase, that wouldn't happen with where they're at right now, but hope I would be able to be in position to maybe draft the Chase Young. They got 3 different draft picks, but they need to address the offensive line first. That's the first and foremost, because no matter who their quarterback of the future is going to be, They need to fix the offensive line first, and then I would focus on the defense and try to build that Brian Flores defense, because it seems the players like to play for him tough. That's why I think I would have fun with Miami. Honestly, what I would try to do is I would for Brian Flores, basically agreeing that he knew that this team was going to be competitive for this first year. If you don't end up with that first pick somehow, maybe if the Bengals win a couple games or whatever the case is, I would just maybe draft defensive players with all 3 first-round picks and just try to mold and get a really tough defense with a strong offensive line, and then get the quarterback. And then you got a strong offensive line, and then you can get skill players anywhere, in my opinion. So, yeah, I think the Dolphins and the Cardinals, if I pick both sides of each conference. And then other than that, guys, thank you for tuning in today's episode. Like I said, I hope you guys are having a great Thanksgiving weekend, seeing some family and friends and reconnecting with people. If you like what you heard today, please hit that like button. Please hit subscribe either on the YouTube or the Blitzalytics Podcast Network. Leave a comment, leave a review. If you want to ask me anything or suggest anything, my handle is @CodyTalksNFL. Other than that, check out my Fantasy Football Hot Seat podcast with Rob, my producer of this show. We only got a few weeks left for you guys. We can try to help you get through the playoffs and win that championship. Also, too, if you have anything to give, please go check out the All Heart Charity League. It's presented by Blitzalytics, 10 different teams for 10 different charities. Still got time to donate there. And also, too, if you guys are looking to get some stocking stuffers, I know some of you guys are doing some shopping this weekend. Go to Blitzalytics.com. Click the store button. There's tons of different Blitzalytics apparel. Also, there's some great artwork, graphic designs throughout the store by Rob. If you have anything maybe you want to get specifically for somebody this Christmas, reach out to him. He can just come up with something for you. Other than that, I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. Again, I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you Monday. Blitz out.
Thank you for watching Cody Talks NFL, presented by Blitzalytics.com. As always, hit that like and subscribe button, and then hit that bell notification icon to stay up to date on all things football.